Hello everybody and welcome to this intermediate yet beginner-friendly Unreal tutorial. In this video we'll be replicating the game intro. What you will learn is the essential tips and of course the blueprints for the AI that's chasing us around. It's recommended if you know your way around Unreal, as this is not an introduction to Unreal, but nonetheless if you're a beginner you'll still be able to follow along. So with that being said, I would like to give credit to the devs over at Unreal for providing the blueprints as I'm replicating it, but slowed down with like a spin on it. To be honest with you, as for me, I have a lot to learn myself. So if you have any comments, you see me doing something wrong, please feel free to leave them below. Let's go to the Epic launcher because this is what you're going to use to obviously get it started. So I am running version 2.5.3, so it's best that you use the same version in case there is a slight change in the menu of where an item is. You may get a little lost. And also, if you don't have it installed and you need help installing it, I provided a link in the description below. So just follow that, and that's a video that will help you install Unreal, and then you can get started. And once you launch, we'll meet you right back here. You go to games once this loads up, right? So we're going to go to next, and we're going to go to first person, and we're going to go to next. And everything's already set as default. I'm going to name it Cyber World. All right. So now once this loads up, we're going to come to the loading screen, and we can get started. And here we are. You should see the same screen. So just a few tips. If you want to skip it, go right ahead. But if you know it already, you'll notice I have 4 browser content browser windows open. It's so much easier to work because you can go here and you can open up each one separately. Just go to Windows here if you don't know, and just go to content browser and just click on all of these and you'll have all these folders. Just go to your content here, and if you click on here, if you're a beginner and you go to starter content, you'll see in the starter content you're going to see here materials. Drag the one you want to wherever you want. So here, let's just restart that. So here you would drag it to, let's say, materials, and it would ask you move or copy. You don't want to ever move it because then you're going to take it out of your starter content. So you want to just say copy here, and that's how you get the materials. Now I went ahead already and made some folders. So basically if I go to the content and let's say go to, let me go up, content, and here's Cyber World. Here's the main folder. In here you'll see CW for Cyber World short, blueprints, maps, materials, and textures. Let's open a new world, a new map. So basically you're going to go to File, and you're going to go to New Level. And that's how you open a new map in Unreal. We're going to go to Empty, and let's just drag a box in. All right. Now you could scale it either way. You could press the R key, or here, or you can go here. 3 ways to do it. I'm going to scale it to 20, tab 20, tab point. I think 0.2 is okay. All right. Yeah, that looks good. Looks good. All right. Before we do anything, let's make sure we save our work. So just Control S. And I already have a map saved, but if you want to, just pick a folder of where you want the destination. For me, it's CW Maps. And then name your map whatever you want. So test map is fine. And from there, now you have your work saved, and make sure that you go here to File and always save all. Save constantly. All right, let's just add a little light in here quickly. Let's add a directional light up in here. And now we're pretty much all set. Just one other thing you want to keep in mind is the location of where you are. You always want to be facing the x-axis. So you want your location to be at 0. That's the best. So that's up here, location, right? So you want to go 0, tab 0, tab 0. And that's going to put this on the map exactly center on the grid. So that's always good to start your project at a location of 0 instead of just dragging the cube in and not knowing where you are. And the directional light, you can do the same thing in the sense of 0, tab 0. But for the height, because we want it above, we could put in, I don't know, 5, whatever, it's above us. And if you want the intensity of the directional light higher, you can just raise the luminosity, right? And if you don't know where something is, just click on it up here in the world outliner. And by the way, if you forget, if you close a window by accident, because this can happen, and then you can just freak out and just, where's my stuff? Just go to Windows right here, and you'll see right here World Outliner, and it'll come right back. You'll mostly find any window you have, but if you want to settle that problem, just go to Windows and then go to load the layout like I told you before. So with that being said, feel free to work on this map if you want. That's fine. As for me, I created my own map. So I have it here in a clip that's going to take about 2.5 minutes. And it is me making the map that we're going to play on, or at least the tutorial is based on. But you can use this. So sit back, enjoy, and I'll be right back. Okay, everyone, let's get started with the blueprints. So in your blueprint folder, just right click and go to blueprint class. And we need to get an AI controller, but there is none here. So just in the search field, just type in AI and you'll see it come up right away. And in here you want to rename this. So let's rename it. So I'm going to call it GameCube AI. Open it. Let me drag the window here. All right, once you open it, you're going to come to the viewport by default. So you have a construction script and you have the event graph. Here's where you do temporary stuff. But if you want to keep code on the side, and then I don't really mess with it as much as this, but you go in here, delete the event tick in the bottom and go here. And then what we're going to do is right click, just type in AI, and what we want to do is AI move to. So that's what we're looking for. Basically, the AI move to is what is going to look for our first person shooter, which is this. So target actor, drag right off of that, and you want to go to or type in get player character. And this is the first person shooter that this is going to look for. So now from the pawn here, you want to drag off that and type in get control, and you'll see it come up straight away, pawn. And this is going to be the pawn that we're going to create. Basically, the pawn is a movable object, so it can be controlled in the game. So we're good to go. The only problem is if we connect this, it's only going to spawn once. It won't look anymore for it. So we want to set a timer so it can keep spawning. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click the same way we did before and go to set timer. And you want to do it set timer by function name. Put that up here, and in the function name you want to type in follow player. And then right here, what you want to do, right click here and go to custom, add custom event, and type in the same thing, follow player. Enter. And then from here you want to drag the follow player into the AI move to, and the event begin play into the node of the set timer function name by function name. Now here I didn't continue on this because I wanted to get this out the way. Sometimes you forget because it's follow player, but right here you want to set the time for when you wanted to call the player. So we'll set it for like 2 seconds. And you want to definitely loop it, because if you don't, it's going to call once and it won't call again. So just check that. Remember to always compile and save. So what's happening here is the GameCube AI is an artificial intelligence that basically is going to be attached to the pawn. And the pawn is a movable object that can be controlled within the game. So the event begin play will set the timer to the function name, follow player. It will spawn in 2 seconds, loop, and the add move to is the code that's going to find and locate the player right here, which we have one, and the pawn is going to be our controlled pawn. And that's why we have follow player here. Okay, you can make it a little bit neater, and now we'll just move on to the next. You can close out of this, save, compile, save, and close. All right. Now we just have to create the pawn, which is very important. But we're going to go here, right click, and we're going to go to blueprint class and click on pawn. All right, let's rename that right away. So I'm going to rename mine GameCube pawn. This way I don't get confused. I know I have AI here and I have the same name GameCube, but it's pawn, so I can't get confused. Let me bring my tab in here so you can see it. So now we're finally in the viewport here, because we really didn't do anything with the AI. That's just in the AI controller, so we don't need to put a cube on there. But for the pawn, we need to put a cube on it because we need to put some kind of mesh on it. It can't just be empty and have nothing as just an empty object. You won't see anything on the screen in gameplay. So very simply, go to add component and just drag a cube in. Once you do that, you want to scale it. For me, I'm going to scale it to 0.5, tab 0.5, 0.5. So it's like this. And once we have our cube, compile and save, it's very important that you do this. With the cube selected right here, the root of it, right here, GameCube pawn self selected, make sure it's this, not this, because you can see in your details pane, it's different when you click on it, the root of it right here, the actual object. So right here is very important. See where it says under pawn, where it says AI controller class? Click here, and now for me, I named it GameCube AI. So I'm going to click on that. So whatever you named your AI controller to, just use that. If you don't do that, it won't come searching for you. Now this cube still needs something to control. It needs something to make it move, or in the sense physically, it needs access to something that's going to make it, let's say, float around. So even though it has the AI controller, we attached it, and even though it has a cube on it, it's still not enough. But it's really easy. Just go here to add component and just type in move, and you're going to see here floating pawn movement. So just leave it. You don't have to rename it. Compile, save, and then just go back to your maps, and you should be good. And now what we're going to do is we're going to drop a cube, the one we just made, right in here, And now we're going to go here and press play. And what we're going to see is 0. Because we need to set the nav bounds mesh. So let's go here, escape, go to volumes, left, and see where it says nav mesh bounds. Let me just make it a little bit wider in case you want to. Okay, nav mesh bounds volume. So we want that. So take that and drag that in to like the middle of your map right here. Go to the to the scaling tool and just scale it all the way. Whatever, to cover your whole area, your surface. That's what I meant to say. So once we do this and you see it that it looks like it's full, you're good to go. But make sure by pressing P that it turns green just like this. If it doesn't work with the P, then go here to show and go to navigate. And if it's turning green, you should be good. So now let's go press play and let's see what happens. And here he is. He's coming after us, and you can see that he's viciously just, but we can't shoot it yet. So it's just coming after us. He's doing a pretty good job at it. Pretty smart. In fact, he's knocking me over, and it's pretty cool. So there's the cube attacking us, but without any, we can't do nothing to it yet. So that's what we want to do right now. What we want to do now is go back in the game pawn here, delete all the standard stuff that comes here, just delete everything out of the way. And in the event graph, so not the viewport, in the event graph right here, we're going to right click here. Well, make sure cube is selected. You see when you right click, look at the options here. Actor, add component, there's nothing here. So click on the cube, right click, and then you're going to see the difference. Add event for cube, call function on cube. We want to add event for cube. We want a collision. And what we want to do is add on hit, add on component hit. Okay, we'll drag it up here. So what's going to happen is basically when we shoot the cube, this is what this is going to, what the brain of this is right here. So now we're going to move this over. And now we're going to spawn actor from class. So right click here and just go type in spawn. And you'll see spawn actor from class. So now there's none because we didn't select anything yet. We're going to select the class right now. So here from the class, let's go down and let's click on what there is available for us to use. So let's use here, from my experience, this one works the best. Blueprint effect explosion. So now it has something. That's the effect that it's going to have when we shoot it. It's going to explode. Okay, so what's happening here is the spawn actor from class right here. It basically wants to attach itself to the explosion of the on component hit to the cube, but it's looking for a location. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go to the cube right here, and you can just drag the cube right in. And once you drag that into the event graph, just take that up here, and then just drag off of the cube like this. And then you just want to type in here, get world transform. Right here. So once you have that, take get world transform and put that return value right into the spawn transform. Now that we have that, what's happening here is basically this will spawn right where the cube is. That's the point of the get world transform. So now that we move on, now we need a sequence basically, because this is going to be the order of operation pretty much. Because if we destroy the cube before the actual effect, the explosion, we won't be able to find it. So to create a sequence, basically order of operations, very simply, just hold down S and left click, and the sequence should appear. So you want to connect the thin 0, which is 1, but let's not get confused, thin 0 to the spawn actor. So right here, thin 0 to spawn actor. Compile, save, and then before we forget, go to on component hit, put that to the side, and connect that to the sequence right here. Compile and save. So basically this is going to be the first order of operation for the effect. All right, so now what we're going to do is going to take the cube up here and drag it again in here. And once we go from the cube, we go up here and we type in here, destroy component. You want to type that in. And once you have that all set, you want to attach this, the destroy component. Right here, you want to go to the then one. So what this is going to do, it's going to destroy the cube after the fire explosion happens. So what's going to happen is after the fire effect, the explosion happens, then it's going to destroy the component. But we still want to destroy the whole blueprint after we're done. So basically what we want to do is go to return value under spawn actor blueprint, drag off of that, and click promote to variable right here. And for the variable, I am going to name it. You can actually see it here. You can also rename it, but I'm going to name mine cube explosion. Enter. Now, if you scroll down here while you're in the details pane, you'll see a whole bunch of options. What we want is on end play. What that's going to do is on the end, it's going to make the cube explode and just destroy everything. So before we do that, let's just straighten this up a little bit so you can kind of get a better idea. All right, so I'm going to bring everything in here. And what we want to do with this is right click and type in here, destroy actor. You'll see that right here, destroy actor. And after the on-play explosion is done, we want to connect this into this so it can simply destroy our actor at the end. So the code should look like this, compile and save. So what do we have here? Basically, the order of operation, which is this one here, the first on component hit, will set an algorithm here, if you will, like to the sequence. Next, from the sequence, the then 0 will spawn the transform, which will create the effect of the explosion. With that, the spawn transform is going to get the cube's location. Then, from the then 1, it will destroy the component and the cube. So that's going to happen all together. The return value will set the explosion, and the on end play will destroy the actor entirely, which is the blueprint class. So if it looks like this, you should be good. Click compile, save. We can head back to the map. So what we want to do now is simply drop in the cube, press play, and it's not coming after me, so that's a little bit of an issue. Let's just see something. Stop, and that's why. So you see my nav mesh, I don't know how that happened. Maybe I moved it by accident, but if I click on P, you'll see that that was the only area. If the cube was in here, it would have at least done a little something, I think. I think I have to be in here for that to work. But anyway, let me rescale this. I think this is, if you don't see it, if you're not sure, click on it here. Make sure you don't want to move the wrong thing. And now I'm good. As long as the green, let's move it a little bit more. As long as the green is covered, we're all set. So unclick the P, so this way I don't have to see that. And if we don't put a player start in, this is what happens. So stop that, and I don't know how it's missing. But we'll put one in here, basic. Let's scroll down so I can kind of get my way around here. And we'll go to basic, player start, and we'll add one in here. Go to rotate. Every time I drop it, it's never in the spot that I want it to be at. So now we'll press play, and here he is. And here he comes after us. We could shoot it once, but the problem is it's gone. So the only way to make it come back is very simple. You could either do stop and press play again, and that's not really, much fun. It kind of sucks. So what we have to do now is go to exit. You can remove this, delete it. You don't need that in here. So go to volumes, and under basic, because that was for the nav mesh. We don't need that anymore. So basic and trigger box. Drag this guy in here anywhere. It doesn't matter. We can always adjust it later. So let's scale this. The first thing is to scale it, because if the trigger box is not big enough and your cube, let's say, is bigger than the trigger box, it won't spawn from it. So it's very, very tricky with that. You have to mess around with it. So if you do all the code and everything worked before and you just added a trigger box in, just know that. Just mess around with the scaling and the height. That's very important. Otherwise, it will not spawn from there, like I said. So now if we press play and absolute 0, because we didn't set the trigger box to do anything. It doesn't know what item to spawn in there. So let's stop it. And now we're going to do something different. All right, everybody, we're kind of coming to the closing. So we got some more work to do, but like I said, this is the last part. So blueprints here, all right, on this tab up here, and then going to open level blueprint. Now what this is, get rid of this guy, event tick, but let's keep the event begin play. What this is pretty much a blueprint of the map of your world. You see the way it says cyber world? So whatever you named it, you're going to see that up there. So whatever events happen in your map, it's going to happen in the open level blueprint. That's why they call it open level blueprint. Am I saying blueprint? Blueprint. Okay, it's a tongue twister. I mean, let's face it. Anyway, so what we're going to do is, straight off the bat, we're going to right-click, and this is very important. So right-click and type in spawn AI from class. So it's going to pop up right away. Now, don't get this confused, because this has happened to me with spawn actor from class. So you don't want to do this in this case. Okay. So let's bring this over here. Now, once we have that, what that's going to do, it's going to basically be the parent class that is attached to. So now, on the spawn actor from class, in the pawn class, what we want to do here is select what I'm going to select is the GameCube pawn. Whatever you called it, whatever you named your pawn, make sure that you select it in there. Right? So now, from here, this is kind of not tricky at all, but what you want to do is minimize this here if you don't have a second monitor, and take your trigger box that's on the map. This stays up in front. That's why they do that. And just go to trigger box. So you can either click on the little thing right here and you can get it, or you can just search for it. And you want to take, not the nav mesh, the trigger box here, right in front. And I'm just going to search for it instead. So, and it's right here. Take the trigger box and drag it right in here. And now you can maximize this again. Okay, so now what we have is we have a reference to call with the trigger box. Okay, so now that we're good with that, what we're going to do is we're going to drag from the trigger box right here, and we're going to type in get actor location. It's right there. If you type it all out, by the way, you don't need to put spaces or capitals. It just does it for you. So don't worry about that. Now you want to, let me just move this over. We want to connect, where do you think this is going to go? Connect actor location to location right there. I mean, that basically what's going to do there is this will keep spawning the cubes from the trigger box, because this is the location, and what's it attached to? The trigger box. So now we want to add one more custom event here. Just type in, if very so you can either type in add custom event, or if you know the one you want, or just add in CUS, and it's going to automatically take you to custom event. So what we want to do with this is rename it right away and type in spawn GameCube. Enter. I mean, you could, you type in whatever you want, but for me, because this is what I'm typing in, this is what it is. So now we're going to connect the game spawn cube to the custom event artificial class node. So let's bring that in here. Let's bring this down here. Little neat. Bring this here and connect the spawn game cube to the spawn AI from class right here. Okay, once we do that, we're going to compile, save. All right, so now what we need to do, if we do this, it's just going to set it one time, but it's not going to continue. So we need a timer to keep them coming, right? So all we're going to do is right click here, and we're going to type in a set timer by function name. So now it's very important that you click on this as well, by function name. Otherwise, if you do the other one, then it's not going to come up. So now we're going to connect the event begin play to the set timer by function name right here. And on the function name, what we want to do in function name is type in the same thing right here, spawn game cube. So wait, let me just go here in the function name. Spawn game cube, make sure the spelling is correct, otherwise it won't call. So that's good, and of course you can type whatever you want. Connect the event begin play to the set timer by function name. And now click compile. Okay, and now we're pretty good. Now we go back to this like last time. Remember I went here, went there. Don't forget to do this. So we want to spawn this every 2 seconds. You can do whatever you want. I'm going to do 2 for now, and I want it to loop. If we don't press this, don't click on this, it's just going to go one time like the other way. Same thing. So it's basically the end of this right here in the open level blueprint. I mean, it's pretty neat. So yours should look just like this. Okay. If you have any trouble, just go back and save, compile, and save. And now if we go to our map, let's see what happens when we press play. Okay. Let's see where he's at. Okay, so we know where our trigger box is, but we really don't know exactly where it's coming from because until it appears. So what you could do is basically stop this here, and let's throw in geometry, throw in a cone right here above the trigger box, and then just let's get an idea. Let's go a little higher right there. Let's make sure that we're kind of centered. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just a demo. Let's press play. I think the cone, yeah, so this a little higher, but that's fine. So now what happens is you have a little reference as to where, something where it's coming from. And of course you can definitely hook it up a little something like this. Go here, go to textures for the bottom, go to your materials that you made, if you made any. And let's see, what if I do something like this? I have the immersive color, but so you can put colors and each one has a nice panel. And it's kind of cool. It's got a nice glow to it and all that. So that's a little thing that you can see where you're at when you want to find the trigger box in the game. So this way it's just not spawning empty and in a spot that you don't know where it's coming from, unless you want that. Last thing we're going to do is wrap this up. We're going to go to open level blueprints here. And we're going to go change this. Now this is the time that it retains it. So even if you set it in the pawn for 1 second, it's going to still stay there for 5 seconds until it's released. So you want to save and compile this. And if you go to the pawn here, the AI, sorry. If you go to type this, like let's say what I type in 2 seconds. If you comply, save, and we know here the floating pawn, the cube here, the GameCube pawn is the one with the movement speed, and the GameCube AI is the one where you change the spawning speed. So now if we go back to the map, press play, it should come every 2 seconds. And that's it. I'm not sure exactly what happened, if I added this or not, but I'm going to go back and do it quickly right before I end. I'm going to take this off because I might have done it and I did so much, I just forget where I did. So if I'm going to put I'm going to put sound back again in case you heard the sound and somehow I just deleted a video I did because I just did. So let's go to the cube because that's what we want. We want the cube to be selected because that's the one we want the sound to come from. Let's go to on component begin. Click on that. And then once you have that, drag off of that and just go here and just go play. Once you do that, it's going to come up play sound from location. On the select asset, you can listen to it by clicking the middle. Whatever you want. And then just click on the side to select it, compile, save, back to the map, play, It's annoying. That is annoying. Like, but yo, it's doing. Bottom line is that we got sound anytime it spawns, and you could even put more sound if you want to after it's spawns. After if you shoot it and a couple of other things. So it's pretty smart. Chases us around, and that's pretty much how you create. That's pretty much how you create an AI to chase you. And that's it. All right. So I hope this video was somewhat entertaining and, you know, helpful. So if you have any trouble, let me just go back quickly, even though you can do this on your own. But it's so much easier if you can just see this and pause it. Look at this, the game AI. That's what it's supposed to look like. And this is the open level map, our world here. I just want to do this. And that's it. So just pause those screens if you want to go back and check. If you're having any problem, it's not working, you can always leave comments. But the main thing is to try to mess with the nav mesh. This has happened to me before where it wouldn't work. And all I had to do was just click on it and raise it up and down. And then it worked again. So little things like that. The trigger box, you know, a few things. Even if this cone interferes with the trigger box, if you put it down here, it won't spawn after. So whatever you did, just go back to your last save or whatever you did last, undo, and see why that's happening. Let me exit out of here. So File, we want to definitely save all. File, exit. And if you haven't done this already, you should always make a hard copy by open up your folder where you have Unreal installed, go to Unreal Engine, and where you have the saves, go to Cyberworld, that's the one I'm using, and just take out and just put it into another hard drive. This way you have a hard copy. This way if you mess up, you have nothing to worry about. Well everyone, that's going to conclude this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it and it helped you out, please give it a like. If you would like to see more of these kind of tutorials, or if you have any other suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I hope you learned a lot. I hope everything worked out for you, because I know sometimes it can get frustrating. But I'm here to help you out, so I'll do my best to answer everybody back. All right, everybody. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and everybody take care.